Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for your patience and sticking with us through this. So yeah, welcome and thank you for joining us today. For those of you who are in person and most folks via Zoom, our HSI Equity Talk is a story using embedded advising to disrupt barriers in foundational STEM courses. My name is Charis Furzon. I use the pronouns she, her, and hers, and I have the pleasure of serving as the HSI Initiatives Director. So as the HSI Initiatives Director, one of my opportunities is to really work closely with those who start to develop the grants as well as the implementation teams for the Department of Education HSI grants. So in the HSI grants, we really start with our race-conscious question of what forces accelerate or impede the holistic success of Latinx, low-income, and first-generation undergraduate, transfer, and graduate students at UC Santa Cruz. So we disaggregate our data to study student pathways. We really want to hear their stories. And then we design our educational interventions, creating student-centered practices to make investments in increasing our institutional capacity to support our student success in their academic and career pathways. So embedded course advising comes from our HSI STEM and Articulation Grant, Science, Education, and Mentorship in Latino Lives in Academia, or more commonly called SEMIA. So SEMIA was funded in 2016, and over the course of the grant, SEMIA programs served over 4,000 students who identify as Latinx or EOPs. So with that overview, I want to introduce our presenters. So today we're going to hear from Maya Wolf and Jessica Macias. Maya started on the original team of EOP STEM Counselors hired for SEMIA in 2017, and now currently serves as the Assistant Director of EOP STEM Advising. So Maya has worked with several of the SEMIA initiatives, including College Math Academy, SEMIA Scholars, the STEM Hub Here Mentor Program, and Maya has taught the Career in STEMs course and worked with many students via the embedded course advising through various STEM courses. Jessica was hired for the SEMIA initiatives as an EOP STEM counselor in June of 2019. Her role began with planning the Transfer Jumpstart and Summer STEM transfer programs. Jessica continued to coordinate the STEM transfer program for 2 years, and more recently has been providing embedded course advising for Biology 20A, a foundational course needed for popular STEM majors, supporting students within the physical and biological majors via the STEM Scholars Program, along with other EOP cohort programs. And Jessica currently oversees the STEM Hub, which is located inside the Science and Engineering Library, as well as the STEM Hub peer advisors. So please join me in welcoming Jessica and Maya.
By the way, you guys got a lot of shout outs on the Zoom chat.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to present to you all today. Thank you for that warm welcome, Charis. We're really glad to be here. Hi, Zoom folks. Maybe I should get rid of this chat. You can see us better. Okay, so thank you so much for being here. My name, as Charis said, my name is Maya Wolf, pronouns she, her, hers, and currently the Assistant Director of EOP STEM. And we're going to be presenting a success story using embedded course advising to disrupt barriers in foundational STEM courses. So we're here today doing this equity talk because we had an opportunity to present the same presentation at OSCE in New Mexico in March. And OSCE is the Alliance for Hispanic Serving Institution Educators, and it was a conference for all the HSI practitioners together. And so we wanted to bring this to our UCSC campus. So we will get started. So Charis did give a little bit. Okay. Hi folks in the Zoom room. Just make sure you're muted. I think we can hear someone coming in. Thank you so much.
Okay, because at first whiteness was only like this part of Europe. And then it started being more, and started bringing hella Portuguese people out here, and they're like, well,
Okay.
All right. Okay, so as Charis mentioned, we have been working on the SEMIA initiative since 2017. And it was one of the HSI grants that was doing STEM equity work on campus. And the grant was able to hire more EOP STEM counselors, and we were hired within the EOP office, so the Educational Opportunity Programs office, to specifically support Latinx, first-gen, low-income STEM students. And just for some historical knowledge and for newer folks on campus, EOP is a department on campus that specifically serves first-gen and low-income students. We provide holistic counseling, various equity programs, and we're really just trying to increase the retention and graduation rates of our students. So one of the interventions that we had an opportunity to take on when the grant first started was an intervention called embedded course advising. And so we were going to be able to work with high-risk STEM courses that were found to have large disparities between non-EOP white students and Latinx EOP students. So we're going to delve into that intervention today. So a little bit of an overview of the intervention. So we're going to, a little bit of an overview of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go over the intervention and talk about embedded course advising. We're going to go into our model for embedded course advising. We're going to talk a little bit about evidence of success, how this could be applicable to other departments on campus. We'll have some concluding thoughts and then have a chance for Q&A. Okay, so just a disclaimer that the contents of this presentation were developed under a grant from the U.S. Department of Education. However, the content does not necessarily represent the policy of the Department of Education, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government. So to go into embedded course advising, so I wanted to overview what the grant defined course advising as. And so STEM attrition can also be caused by non-academic factors, particularly for marginalized students. Students who feel isolated or underprepared can benefit from experienced counselors, personal support, and a developmental relationship with a caring advisor. STEM counselors will partner with faculty in STEM foundation courses to implement early alerts to proactively seek out potential and emerging student barriers. Integrating support into STEM courses builds a bridge for students who can benefit from support but might not know how to access resources on campus. So this intervention was really about partnership between a faculty and advisor. We wanted to create this early alert model where we could be embedded into a classroom and do targeted outreach toward a very targeted population of students who are taking the class and be able to identify things that might impact the student's success in the course really early on. So some barriers that we often were seeing in STEM courses were things like students having trouble navigating academic resources or financial need, basic needs, mental health, a student having challenges getting access to technology or course materials, students who are just really having a hard time with imposter syndrome or a sense of belonging in their STEM classes, time management skills, family responsibilities. And so what we were able to do is when we were able to build a relationship with the student really early on, we were able to address these needs and ensure that the student was then able to be successful in that class. So we would be able to connect them to resources, encourage them to use the tutoring, to use professor office hours. And we were really meeting the students where they were at. So we were meeting them in the classroom, instead of requiring the student to have to navigate resources that they may not know about or know how to find. So we're going to delve into this model a lot more and into more detail and show why it's been successful. So one thing I also want to share that one of the outcomes from the SEMIA logic model where we wanted to increase the pass rates for STEM foundational courses and reduce equity gaps for STEM foundational coursework as well. So that was the goal in doing this intervention. So I will hand it over to Jess.
Thank you, Mai. Yeah, so I'm going to share with you all ways that advisors can partner together with faculty to provide a better course advice model, and to also help take a more proactive approach to help close the gaps for Latinx, first generation, low income and URM students who are pursuing STEM majors. And then along with this advice model, I will also be sharing some effective outreach methods that we've been using to within this embedded advice model to help encourage students to seek support. So the first thing is to implement embedded course advising. It begins with identifying the foundational STEM courses that have large equity gaps. So these are typically lower division courses that are taught in large lecture halls or virtually, and are known to have large non-pass rates, which can often be the reason why STEM proposed majors are not able to declare on time or qualify. And these, once a foundational course has been identified, the next step is to establish a partnership with the faculty. So reaching out to them directly, sharing with them the types of resources and services that can be offered throughout the quarter for the students, and how the advisory faculty can work together to support the students in this target population. So once that partnership has been established, then we go ahead and identify who that target population is. And in this case, we typically would focus on supporting students that have EOP status or even identify as Latinx and or URM. Once we have that target population set for the quarter, which ranges between 50 to 60 or maybe a little bit over than that per quarter, then an outreach strategy is created. And I'll dive into more of the specifics as to what we do, but just to give you all a brief overview, it starts with an introduction at the beginning of the first day of class. And then with the faculty's permission, we include the language needed to share out our resources and best ways that students can seek out support and communicate with us to let us know about any questions or concerns. And then throughout the quarter, we also send a fair amount of emails and text messages that we try not to overburden them already with a large amounts of communication they already received. So we try to get creative with that, which I'll go over in a short moment. Once that outreach strategy is created, then students start scheduling appointments to meet with the counselor throughout the quarter. Now in these meetings, we offer a holistic advising, and these are typically hour-long appointments. During those appointments, we discuss academic barriers or non-academic barriers they may be facing that quarter or prior to that. And then also we go over resources that they currently have utilized or know about. And we also cover resources that they may not be aware of. And we also do referrals and things like that. And then we also cover topics around time management, family expectations and responsibilities, including study strategies. And so while we have these meetings with the students of the quarter, we also have teaching team meetings. So we have meetings with the faculty either weekly or bi-weekly, depending on their availability. And we cover, this is the opportunity where we case manage the target population that we've identified. So we, in these meetings, we track the progress of the students based on the grades and their exams. And then we identify the students that are, that need a little extra support based on their quiz scores, their attendance, or even their exams scores. And then this is also a good opportunity for both the faculty and the advisor or counselor to share any academic and non-academic barriers that have been impacting based on our individual meetings with the students. And then after that, we develop actionable plans to figure out how to best support the student moving forward. And lastly, at the end of each quarter, we track the pass rates for once the grades are posted, and through InfoView, I download the grades from the target population I'm supporting, and then we do a specific target outreach to the population that did not pass the class. And over the break, we encourage them to schedule an appointment with us, and we go over on next steps, whether that means retaking the class, going over any other additional resources that they may have not yet utilized, or best approaches on utilizing these resources. And also we have conversations around major qualification and policy, and also do referrals as well. So this is our overall our embedded course device model. Now the next part that I'm going to dive in is to the effective outreach methods that we do. Typically at the beginning of the quarter, prior to the start of the quarter, actually, I like to share a timeline as to when I will be sending out my outreach to the students. Now, I mentioned I don't like to send out too many emails because a lot of that gets lost in that sea of emails. So, what we do basically is, in addition to an email here and there, we introduce ourselves during the first day of class. And so it's really nice to put a name to a face to the name. And we go in there to literally share the resources right there and then, alongside of the introductions with the TAs and the tutors that also attend the first day of class. So that they can be fully aware of what kind of support they would be receiving for the entire quarter. And then we also provide the resources and information to the faculty to post on their class website, their syllabus. I share my email. I shared a link to how they can schedule appointments and things like that. And we also take this opportunity to introduce ourselves at the beginning of the quarter to the teaching team. So that includes the TAs and the tutors as well. Throughout the quarter, we send out email messages. I like to send them out through success campaigns because it's way more effective and it's easier for students just to click on the link and then to see our availability. And then this is something I started doing. I started sending out text messages to the students. And I send them an inspiring or motivational quote the day prior to their exams to kind of boost their morale as they finish their last remaining study hours for the exam. And also I share a friendly reminder to have them refer back to one of the emails to schedule an appointment with us if they want to meet post midterm. And this is our outreach methods, and I will go ahead and pass it back to Maya.
Thanks so much, Jess. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some ways that we've measured our success. And one way that we've seen success is through
Spectrum.
I might be able to add another person to my.
sorry.
Really?
Because I'm typing it.
Oh, está todo atrasado.
Measured our success. Sorry.
Maya, we can't hear you because you muted the humanities room. So unmute the humanities. Cool.
Thank you, Nam. We're learning as we're going, y'all. This is
This is great. This is great. You're doing great.
technology challenges. Thank you all for your patience. Okay. I'm going to try one more time. Okay, so one way that we measured our success was through seeing the increase in faculty partnerships across STEM departments. So in our grant logic model, we identified 3 lower division STEM courses that we were going to do course support for. And so in 2017 and 18, we supported 5 courses and 3 unique STEM courses. And then just due to the interest from STEM faculty and then the counselors having an investment in these partnerships as well, we've now supported 40 courses as of spring 2022 and 11 unique courses. So you'll see here, I've listed some of the courses, but we supported math courses, bio courses, chem, and then also computer science and engineering. And so what was really amazing to witness was that we would be doing course support for a professor, and then another professor would hear about it and want to engage with us, want to work with us, and want to provide that same level of support in their class. And then we would, meet with them, talk about what we could offer their class, and we ended up supporting many more courses than we even had envisioned when we first started this. So that was really exciting to see. Another way that we've shown evidence of success is by seeing the decrease in pass rate disparities between our EOP Latinx students and non-EOP white students. So in this chart here, you'll see that when some course analysis was done pre-getting SEMIA, from fall 2012 through summer 2015, looking at Bio 20A and Math 3, we saw really large pass rate differences. So you can see on the far right hand column that there was a 27% pass rate difference between Latinx EOP students and white non-EOP students. And so same with Math 3, we were seeing a 12% difference in pass rates as well. So now, after having done course support for several years, we looked at the data again, and in looking from fall 2017, when we started course support for these two courses specifically, through summer 2021, we have seen a 7% decrease in the disparity of pass rates for Bio 20A, and we've seen a 1% decrease in the pass rates for Math 3. So, and like I said, we've chose to look at these courses a little bit more in depth because these are two courses we have supported for several quarters throughout the grant. So in the next slide, we'll go into more detail with Bio 20A because this has been one of our most successful efforts.
Yeah, so I kind of took the initiative to kind of track, since I started my role and I started providing embedded course advising, to track how many students in my outreach population or target population I would meet with each quarter. So I kind of just kind of did this a little bit on my own. And for those of you, Maya did a really good job in explaining like what Bio 20 is. So there's an introductory biology course for that's needed for biology majors to move forward. And so this class is taught in a large lecture. It has typically between 250 to over 300 students enrolled. But due to my capacity and my other commitments, I'm only able to support roughly around 50 to 75 students maybe. So I do narrow down the caseload to focus on supporting STEM proposed majors who are frosh, sophomores and juniors, have EOP status, and also are identified as Latinx and URM. And I also from time to time include non-EOP URM students as well. And so as you can see here, if you look at the number here on these bars, this black bar here shows the number of students that were in my target population each quarter. And then this bar here, the unique appointments, are the students I had the opportunity to meet with. So from the 73 students that I outreach to seek support from EOP STEM Counseling, 21 of those students scheduled an appointment. Several of these students actually scheduled at least more than one appointment throughout the quarter. So for the fall 2019, I had 29 total appointments from my outreach efforts. Same with winter quarter. If you look at that, from the 56 students that were in my target outreach population, 15 students scheduled an appointment with me at least once. Several of them scheduled more than one. So I had 20 total appointments for winter 2020 and so on. And if you notice the difference between the number of students that were outreach to versus the number of students who scheduled an appointment with me is very significant. But of course, there are a lot of challenges that impacted this. One big one also going down the line of quarter is the impact of the pandemic. But one that was very common was it was very challenging to encourage students to seek support, especially if they rarely utilize campus resources or not at all. There were a small number of students that where I was their first point of contact. So they didn't really know, what to expect. And so that was one. But I will say a big success with my outreach efforts is with the students that I was able to meet with. We were able to have a lot of very productive discussions and develop plans to help address any barriers that were impacting them. And we were able to develop goals moving forward as well, which is really cool to see. And so in my next slide here, I also took the opportunity to track the pass and non-pass rates from the students in my outreach population, my target population. And I also tracked the pass and non-pass rate from the students I met with each quarter. So in graph number 2, as you can see, about 50 out of the 73 students that I outreached to, 56% of them did pass the class, where 43% did not. Same in winter 2020, out of the 56 I outreached to, 84% of the students passed the class, where 14% did not. And then if you look at graph number 3, from the 21 students I met with in fall 2019, 67% of these students passed the class, where 33% did not. And then from the 15 in winter, 93% of the students passed the class, where 7% did not. And keep in mind that several of the students that I met with in fall did retake the class. A small handful actually also passed the class, so that was exciting to see in winter quarter. And so overall, what this data shows is the result of our outreach methods and the pass and non-pass rates for the students who followed up with me versus who did not while taking this foundational course that has a large non-pass rate. And of course, this practice of embedded course advising can be implemented with any team of advisors, especially within the STEM fields, where there are historically gateway courses that keep students from moving forward with the major and graduating with a STEM degree. But of course, this is a two-sided investment, and it's only successful when there's a partnership between the advisor and the counselor with the goal to support the students throughout the entire quarter and offer these services. And we actually developed a course support tier model that allows advisors and counselors to implement different levels of support based on the faculty's engagement and interest, and even the advisor's capacity, which I will show you next. So these tiers were actually established to identify a certain tier of course advising based on the workload and capacity. So tier 1 and 2 are options that we offer when we want to share our resources to encourage students to seek support, but we don't have the full capacity to case manage the students that are enrolled in the class. But tier 3, which is the most successful and the most effective intervention, does require a lot more engagement and support from both parties. And so if we take a look at it really closely, tier 1, we do establish that partnership with the faculty. And then we provide the necessary language for the faculty to add our resources to their syllabus and to their course webpage to encourage students to seek support. In tier 2, there's also a assigned counselor that meets with the faculty at the beginning of the quarter or prior to the start of it. And then a target population is identified. However, a direct message is sent during the beginning of the quarter to up to 50 students enrolled in the class. In tier 3, there's already a counselor embedded into the course, so it's expected for the counselor to provide embedded course advising every quarter that the class is offered. And the counselor, then goes through the introduction at the first day of class, meets regularly with the faculty to case manage up to 50 or a little bit more students enrolled, and then a targeted outreach is sent throughout the entire quarter to encourage students to schedule an appointment. So this is our tier model, and I will now pass it back to Maya to share with that.
Thanks, Jess. So yeah, so just one last thought about the tiers was we had to create that because of how much interest we had from faculty to do course support for their courses and just for advisory capacity. Sometimes we couldn't do a full tier 3 model for every single course, but we could offer at least tier 1 or tier 2. So just some concluding thoughts. We've really found that this initiative supports a sense of belonging on campus and within the STEM community. Because when we're embedding advisors who are holistic and equity-minded into a classroom, and there's this partnership between a faculty and a counselor, and just this investment in the student's success and showing this care and like just kind of we're not going to let the student down. Like, we are invested in your success as a student within this class, but in your major and beyond that. So I think we were really able to see that students were able to feel that they belonged in these courses that they have historically felt marginalized in, or felt like they didn't belong in, or because of just the lack of representation within STEM. So that was something that we were able to see just within meeting with students. We were also really able to witness that we were able to influence the importance of finding community within a classroom and feeling connected to peers and faculty. And this is again because we were in the classroom and able to encourage students to connect with their fellow students, to utilize the tutoring resources, to work with their professor during office hours, and encourage all these methods for students to be more successful in these courses. And so students were able to connect with each other, which we knew if students were able to connect with each other, connect with their professor, connect with us, they would feel more connected to this community. Another point I want to make as well is that as advisors, we fully acknowledge we can't always influence the pedagogy or the curriculum in a STEM class, but we have the ability to influence students being able to get tapped into resources really early on. And so that was really important. And it just challenges the siloed efforts on our campus and encourages our faculty and advisors to work collaboratively. And so I know faculty want the students to pass, they want students to do well. Advisors, of course, are invested in student success. So just being able to work together was really impactful. And I think it did show the student that, both of these people are invested in my success and care about me. And so that was something that we really saw through these initiatives. And also, I think just my whole team could say that it's just a dedication to ensuring our students can be retained in these majors. And we just know that STEM is incredibly challenging. It's some of the declaration policies can be a little bit unforgiving as well. And we know how important it is for a student to pass the class the first go in order to be able to declare on time and be retained in STEM. So if we can connect to a student very proactively and early on, we knew that we could, support them and ensure that we were getting them connected to resources, and as long as they could be successful in this course, they would be able to keep going and be able to maintain STEM and if that was their goal and they wanted to be successful in STEM, we really wanted to ensure they were able to do that. So those are some of our concluding thoughts. I will just mention as well that we couldn't have done this without HSI, of course, and the partnership with EOP. We are at an end to SEMIA this coming June, and so it's been just it's been a team effort, I would say, from everyone, from every single person within the HSI team has made this work, and so we're really excited to actually be able to continue this after SEMIA and to continue this as a practice within EOP to offer course support in the following years with STEM courses and potentially doing it in partnership with the physical and biological science advisors and the School of Engineering advisors. So that's something we're working on right now. So yeah, just a huge thank you to everyone in this room for supporting us, and to all the folks in the Zoom world as well. And we're definitely have some time for any questions or discussion that anyone might have. So thank you so much.
I would suggest for those who are on Zoom, if you're comfortable unmuting and asking your question, and if you're not, then you can feel free to share it in the chat and I can.
I did.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Anam. How's it going?
Hi, Nan.
Hi, I had a quick question. Are there student testimonials about all the work that you all did, like in these years? Like, are they published anywhere? I know I've seen them in newsletters and stuff, but I would recommend like really putting it out there for the students that this did work for, or even faculty testimony, and just like put that in thought bubbles and publish it somewhere, because this is great.
Thanks, Anam. Yeah, that's a wonderful idea. I know I do have some testimonials from College Math Academy, because that was an initiative I worked on for several years, and that was the small interactive math 3 class where I was very, very much embedded in the course working with Nandini. And so we did get some testimonials on that. I don't know about Bio 20A.
No, but I really do want to implement that for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, great idea. Thanks for suggesting that.
So yeah, I was gonna add to that because I was gonna ask about that because you mentioned that some faculty were inspired by other faculty, right? So that would be a great way to increase it. And I wanted to say thank you for like that tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I thought that was really interesting because I'm thinking about the DRC and we are just tier 1.
Yeah.
We are just tier 1. So I'm like, okay, I can think of ways. I mean, obviously with increased staff or just different practice that we could really be a little bit more involved as well. So
Yeah, and we definitely understand the capacity for everyone on campus. Everyone has so many programs, initiatives, and student caseloads. And so it's tricky to do this high level of support for that many students. So yeah, hopefully that model is helpful.
Yeah, it
is. Even just, you know, yeah, thank you for that. I do see, and you did ask, is this per quarter and or all 3 quarter?
Yeah, that was before your slide of how long you've been doing this, so I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, so yeah, every quarter, and actually we've done summer quarters as well too, based on faculty requests. Okay, well, thank you all so much for joining.
Sorry, can I
Yeah.
add one thing?
Yeah.
So it's not really a question, it's more of a comment for kind of all our colleagues across campus. So one of the things that I've learned, at least from these initiatives and interventions, is how we frame our language in working with our students. And again, it's like constantly questioning our own kind of deficit-minded thinking, which I struggle with all the time. You know, so it's really about, you know, when I think about when you do these efforts, if anyone is interested and wants to see some of this language that we use, I would say reach out and ask us, because it is just a different way of framing it. Because again, how is the institution meeting the student where it's at, right? This notion of what Dr. Garcia talks about, servingness, right? So we've enrolled the students, but we don't want to frame it like what's wrong with the student. It's more of like, what are we doing to really change and pivot and serve our students better? So I just wanted, like, I know that a lot of effort has gone into the language, and I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Lydia. Yeah, and we're happy to share any of these models. We can, you know, send a PDF and any of our outreach emails, because we have been crafting those for several years, and Jess has a really great, you know, just her outreach methods are really wonderful. So one question came in the chat: what are some of the non-academic barrier situations that we have helped students through? I'll share one, and then I want to share one. So one that I've seen a lot is students having to work one or more jobs while being a student, and particularly off-campus jobs. So we've been able to identify that as being just a really large challenge for students to be able to keep up with full-time STEM coursework while maintaining an off-campus job where they're commuting. And so that's something we can address with the student of, strategizing other ways that we can reduce costs or doing cost-saving measures where maybe they don't need to have a job, or finding an on-campus job that has more flexibility and understanding that they're a student. So that's something that we can, instead of finding that out down the line when the student's already not passed several classes, they potentially now can't qualify for the major, we can talk to them about that, in the first week of the quarter, figure out how to strategize for them moving forward, and then remove that as a barrier to them being able to be successful in the course. So that's one example. And Jess, you might have another one.
Yeah, it's that I think earlier I mentioned that we have conversations about family expectations and responsibilities, and that happens even being away from home, and especially when we're in the pandemic, being at home. So that was a very big challenging thing that a lot of them were dealing with, because the parents were so used to, or the families were so used to, like, just kind of being dependent on the student to also handle other things on top of being a STEM student, which is even more responsibilities and expectations. So that's the one other example I can think of. Yeah.
Okay, well, if there's any last questions or comments? Bye now. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you sharing space with us. We look forward to collaborating with any of you in the future, and figuring out these kind of strategic and innovative ways to address, the many issues that the university creates for our students to be able to be successful. So look forward to working with you all in the future, and thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thank you all.
So funny, that's exactly where my mind was going. It's just like how impactful this work is, right? Because there's just always going to be something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we end it with that?